Hi, Annette Lang here. Welcome to my podcast, The History of Personal Training, or at least my experience in it. This podcast will be a combination of my stories. Full disclosure, I might not remember things exactly the way that you did. Now, my stories of 30 plus years in the fitness industry and then specifically personal training. I was at the beginning of a lot of events, the firsts, so to speak, and so I hope you enjoy those stories. In addition, I'll be interviewing lots of different people whom I've met through the years, and I think that will help piece together a wonderful timeline of the development of this profession that we now call personal training. Enjoy. Okay, so you are in for a real treat. Here is my first interview for this podcast with Bob Esquerre. You might have heard me say before, I consider him the founder or the person who started the way we do organized personal training in health clubs today. I'm going to do lots more interviews with him and get really nitty-gritty on, in each of the topics that we're going to talk about. But I want to start with a basic overview. This is going to be terrific. Bob Esquerre. Enjoy. All right, cool. Well, Bob Esquerre, I always tell people that if you walk into any health club anywhere around the world and you see an organized personal training business, I think that's because of you. So I don't know. I don't think I'm exaggerating with that.
No, I would say that the clubs that get it really get it, and they really got it from it's the stuff that we trailblazed. But don't forget, who was that person who wanted that part-time job way back when to work 5 hours a week? And I unofficially conned her to working 50 hours a week for a little bit more money because you were part of that team.
Right. Okay. But can we start at the beginning? Like, how the heck did you get into fitness, or what? Didn't you teach aerobics or something like that? Or
I thought aerobics. Oh yeah, I was an aerobics slut for years. Oh yeah. In fact, my first aerobics picture, people call that my slut picture because it was like I had that attitude going on, I had that look going on.
Right, and the porn mustache and stuff, right?
Whoa, wait a minute. That was like the mustache, and I got rid of all of that. As we'll leave it at that. Absolutely. But the funny thing though, I laugh about that, but the aerobic stuff actually gave me a sense of understanding me as a person, understanding my weaknesses and my strengths, and it helped me solve my weaknesses, and it helped me start dealing with people a lot better. And building relationships, because that really, really helped me. So, and when I find on the personal training side that personal touch, the ability to be sensitive to people, really is not there, right? Because they don't learn that unless they learned it as a kid growing up, and unfortunately, the kids nowadays don't have common sense, right. So they don't really have the ability of looking somebody in the eye, of having empathy skills, of being able to shake their hand, the ability to be sincere. It's not there. It's lost. It really is lost.
Yeah. And so then, is that when you started getting into the competitive aerobics, or was that later? Or
No, I did get into competitive aerobics as part of my group exercise transition into personal training, but I was doing that before I got into personal training.
Right. You were the coach, right? Or the judge?
I was a judge first,
right?
Then I became a coach, regional coach, and a national coach, and an international coach after that. Yeah.
And is that when you met Stephanie Montgomery, who later was the Reebok?
I met Stephanie Montgomery, and then she helped mold my aerobics thing into group exercise.
Okay.
And it's so, notice, aerobics to group exercise with more structure, more maturity. I went from wearing a bandana in aerobics to not wearing a bandana on my ankle and wearing leg warmers in group exercise. So there was an evolution there of maturity. I want to say that because that was important to my growth, because there's still so many professionals out there who are not really professional because they're not mature. So I was lucky enough to find people as my mentor to help evolve me and help me grow, because I may be good, but I'm not that good. I need other people to help me grow. And when I did that, I began to appreciate the need to find a mentor, and I've set myself up to help mentor other people, because I was helped way back when, because I didn't know everything, and someone grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and said, "Hey, you got to do this and do that. Like, for example, I used to wear for years on the fitness floor a hat, and one of my clients.
You mean like a baseball cap hat or
baseball? Exactly.
cap?
I had a black cap, white cap, orange cap, green cap, blue cap, and it was like really cool. Except my client said to me, "When you're wearing a hat, we can't see your eyes, and you can't see my eyes." And you say, "You know what? They're absolutely right." So I took my hat off. I said, "Wow." All of a sudden, I opened up my horizons because I'm now able to see my client. They can see me. I can see around me, and I start developing that professional eye. But if I had the hat on, I'd be like this, and it wouldn't really work.
But see,
so
like that's just such a great example of, you know, like awareness and like, because I think you did that at Equinox too, right? No hats. No.
Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right.
Okay, so then how did you, like, what brought you to Equinox? Or how did you get there?
Well, the funny thing, I got to Equinox through the competitive aerobics piece.
Okay.
All right, because I was still teaching group exercise, and then because I ended up being a judge, Lavinia grabbed me to help with the Equinox team, and you know how Lavinia does stuff and Danny does stuff. Well, we can't pay you to do all of this, but we'll let you be a personal trainer, and we'll pay you for that. I said, fine. So that's why I invested in personal training, and then competitive aerobics, sports aerobics, and that's how I got into the door at Equinox.
And that was when it was one location, right? And it was
right.
the 3 siblings. Okay. And then, so then, like,
right.
Was it you or was it they who said, hey, we want to organize this and make this, you know, a real business?
Well, here was the funny thing. Chris Imbo was the first fitness director, PT director there.
Okay.
Right. And Chris had Peak 10. Well, Peak 10 was so successful, he started growing beyond Equinox. So before he basically left, Danny and Lavinia saw the writing on the wall. And they said, okay, we need to find somebody to help step in here if Chris decides to leave. So lo and behold, Chris gives notice, and then one night they grabbed me to walk upstairs in the back room and close the door and make me a deal. And I was flattered, I was shocked, but having been there as an independent trainer, I knew the personalities and the politics involved, right. And I said, okay, I will take the job, but you got to back my play. And Danny said yes. So when they made the announcement to all the trainers, it was Danny, Lavinia, Vito, the sister, the whole family was there. Mom was there too, and Dad was there. And they said, okay, this is the deal. Bob is taking over, and he has our undying support.
Wow.
And Danny said, if you come to me, I'm sending you back to Bob. And right after the meeting, they started going to Danny, and Danny said, you go to Bob. That's it. That support helped me establish myself with Equinox. Without that, I wouldn't have made it at all.
And so how many trainers were you talking about? Do you remember?
Oh, God. At that point, we probably had 18 trainers.
Wow. And then...
And you weren't there.
No. Yeah, because you're talking about, like, right now you're talking about, like, 92?
Exactly, yeah. About 92, 90, yeah.
Uh-huh, because I think I came 80, I came in 94.
Right, so it'd be 92, and then, yeah, exactly, and you were there, and you snuck in as a part-time employee, right?
No, I wanted to listen, I was working, I tell people, I've been in a lot of first opportunities. I worked at the first Crunch location when it was a crappy little dance studio in the West Village. And Courtney Barrel used to come in there to work out. And she was saying, hey, we've got this great personal training program at Equinox. And I was like, you're freaking crazy. You can't make any money doing that. And she said, why don't you give it a shot? So I walked in and then got hired by Rocco.
Right.
Yeah, and then you said you want to work on this education team part-time. I remember going to you at a meeting with a list of things that you said we had to get done. And I'm like, there's no freaking way we can get this done in 20 hours a week. And you were like, well, just start working on it.
Exactly, but I said, if you remember that right, I said, Annette, oh, did I lose you? You still there?
No, I'm here.
Okay, and you said to me, okay, here's the things. I said, hey, I promise you part-time. As I said that to you, I had my fingers crossed behind my back because I knew better.
All right, well, I think I missed that.
That's right. And the next thing I knew, who's that? Oh, she's in charge. You took over so much that if a trainer was in trouble, they would come to me so they wouldn't face you.
I know. I'm not sure I like
I
that.
was an easy person then.
No, and that's what was so great. Like when I see, David Harris, huge with Equinox now, and I tell trainers, because I still teach for them, and I tell trainers these stories like, oh, we had to push these people into education programs. They just love those stories. But so my question is then, you got total support from the family, and then was it hard to transition the trainers who were there already into this new, more organized mindset or business or?
It was a fight. It was a bloodbath because at the time we had most of the trainers were wannabe actors, singers, performers. So this was a part-time job until they made the big break. So I had to stroke their egos, keep them there, get them productive as independent contractors. And that was the trick until the trick got harder because the whole issue of independent contractor versus employee came up with the IRS. And then Danny came to me and said, okay, you got a year to make all these people employees without losing a soul.
So wait. So what was the issue again with that independent contractor with employee? What was the issue with the
IRS? Because if we were a small business in terms of making a little bit of money on personal training. As the PT program grew, we're looking at now $500,000, you're talking about $1 million plus. So there's a lot more revenue coming in now to be a small business. So the red flags go up to the IRS.
Right.
So yes, they were independent contractors, but I was telling them what to do, basically. I told them what to do, what to wear, what they couldn't wear.
Right.
Had to do, all of that stuff. So wait a minute, you broke every list of independent contractors. so now you got to pay the piper, and you got to flip them over as employees. And the issue was benefits, the value of benefits, medical, dental, the ability of subsidizing their education and or paying for free. All of that stuff had to be budgeted, which was never budgeted before.
Right.
And we had to remember that 25% of every dollar that came in had to go over for debt service.
Right.
For all the money that the club was borrowing as we were growing.
Okay.
That came off the top. And now, as an official, remember when you and I got dragged into 18th Street, into the conference room that one day, after months before they said, go out there and take care of it, and now it's our fault because the money was being spent. It's like, and nobody knew nothing but you and me. So they threw you and I under the bus. I remember that one, boy.
Yeah,
that was a trip.
I remember those meetings.
You and I next to each other. There's Rocky rather. David wasn't even there yet. David Fowler was there. Danny, and they just blasted us, and we just sat there and say, "Okay, bam, okay, bam." They just whipped us, and we left to say, "Okay, we'll see what happens." And we just kept doing our thing a little bit low key. Then they came back and gave us the money again. So
I know
we played that well.
Yeah, well, you were amazing. You're like, we're just going to keep doing what we do, All right, so then, is that when you started presenting at conferences, or was that already happening? All the health.
I started after that. When Danny said to us, slap, I said, you know what? I better start getting outside just in case I get caught. So I started doing the conferences very low key, and then as I was doing it low key, the business was booming and booming. We got more clubs, more trainers. The reputation got out there, and it just took off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember one of
that worked out really well.
One of the million great things you told me was, speaking at conferences, because I was like, oh, should I try to speak at, like the personal training conferences? And you were like, no, don't do that. Go to where the people with the money go, like the club industry, the URSA, the people.
Yeah, we cautiously did both.
Right.
I did the conferences, and then we ran the business as you and I deem appropriate in the
Right.
middle of that whole chaos.
Right.
And then the program grew, the number of clubs expanded, number of trainers expanded. Then we started bringing in the outside experts.
Right.
Started paying them, Mark Slavin, Tom Purvis, all those guys.
Right. And then, I was just going to ask you something else. When I teach workshops and people talk about the stretch tables, I'm like, oh man, if I just had a dime for every stretch table that we encouraged health clubs to get. It's amazing, Bob, all the people that you brought in for education. That was really cool. And then you started going to other health clubs and helping them with their business, and we would go in and teach workshops.
exactly. Now, at that point, I was pretty much gone from Equinox because that one time, Danny came to me and said that at the staff meeting that he doesn't care about the quality anymore. Remember that meeting? And I said, no. After all these years of doing this, and you're telling me that, and I gave him my notice.
Yeah.
And then we sat down. He came back. He tried to change my mind. I said no. So, but I gave him like 9 months notice. So because we had 83rd Street was coming online.
Right.
So that was being built out. So I said, well, I'll stay till that, and then I'm gone. So we took care of that one, and then right after that, we left.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember driving down to New Jersey to go to the club at Woodbridge in my beat up old car, and the windshield wiper wasn't working.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, that's right.
All right. And so tell me, and then how did you connect back with Stephanie Montgomery to get involved with Reebok University?
Well, I was still at she and I, we met during the sports aerobics days, and then we always stayed in contact. And then she came to me and said, we're looking at doing something with personal training. Yeah, Reebok was starting to do something with personal training, and the first piece was the core board and then RNT.
Right.
So they brought me on board as a master trainer to start providing that input because I had that connection with Equinox, and I was building a reputation nationwide.
Right.
And she just helped me reinforce that and then take me overseas as well.
Right. No, that was really, and then it's so funny when I tell people, oh yeah, Bob Esquerre comes into Equinox on a Monday morning and says, hey, Stephanie Montgomery and Reebok want us to work with this guy named Gray Cook. He's doing something funky with these movement screens. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's Gray Cook from the FMS program. And then I tell them, yeah, another day, Bob Esquerre comes in and says, hey, I went to a conference over the weekend and I met this guy who's starting an education thing online. He doesn't have any money, but he wants you to write articles for him. And it's freaking Richard Boyd from PT on
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And now look at where Tom is at now and Richard Boyd is at now.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
So expensive.
Yeah. So do you think? How do you feel now about the way you see the personal training businesses and health clubs? Like, you think it's going well, or
The high end clubs. Okay, there's the high end clubs like the Equinox and Lifetime Fitness. They got it right. They're doing it no problem. Even within Lifetime Fitness and Equinox, Lifetime is still, Brahm is still trying to replicate the success of Equinox. He's making a bunch of money, not to take it from him, but he's not making as much as Equinox is in terms of money or impact on the industry. Because Equinox, because of the work we did there, still is the best of the best, period. Hands down, slowly. So that's the high-end stuff. The medium-sized clubs that I've worked with, again, they're restricted by not having access to the cash of an Equinox, the cash of a Lifetime Fitness, and they're doing it well too within their mid-growth. Now we look at Rodney Steven in Wichita. You know Rodney, Genesis. He has expanded his program. He's put quality program in there, quality staff. His people are being trained. Mark Slavin is still doing work for him over there.
Wow.
And he's expanded into 3 different states now.
That's great.
Within his chain, he's doing a great, fantastic job. So
Wait.
Started out with his few clubs in Wichita and expanded beyond Wichita into Kansas City, going into Missouri. So, but he's taken a qualitative aspect that he learned from us in personal training and layered it into every programming component of his organization.
Right.
From sales and marketing, group exercise, Pilates, yoga, personal training. So within his realm, his universe, he's doing a fantastic job.
Right.
And he's not going poor. He weathered the recession expanding, which is great.
Right. And Bob,
you've got,
go ahead.
You've got low-end clubs like LA Fitness. I guess the basic difference is that the clubs that get it are managing and positioning personal training programming, and the clubs that don't get it are selling personal training sessions with no goals, no objectives, no education. They're just selling personal training like they sell memberships.
Right.
And what they do is that they don't respect the quality of a great personal trainer who spent all their years getting credentials getting certified. They don't encourage CECs at all. They don't make sure that the certification is still current. All they're doing is selling sessions, discounting sessions. Oh yeah, by the way, I just sold this package at a which included 10 free sessions where you won't get paid for that, Mr. Trainer, Miss Trainer. And it's like, wait a minute, why would I do that as a professional? Then you either stay there and suck it up, or you go someplace else and get another job. Right. And that's where I find trainers today who work with clubs that don't get it are being abused by those clubs. It's a shame.
And Bob, what do you? I won't keep you much longer. What do you think about the hybrid personal trainer or the hybrid fitness professional? You've spoken about that.
Oh, that's the future. Right. I mean, the hybrid personal trainer is absolutely the future, and I said that 12 years ago. Yes. And it's still the future. The biggest challenge is this. As a personal trainer, you could make money based on how many sessions, one-on-one, you could do a day and you can do a week. Okay? And there's only so many days and so many hours in a week. So at some point, you're going to get capped. So what's your alternative? Besides going insane and burning out, you start doing group training or fee-based larger training and or boot camps, where your income per hour can grow exponentially 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, depending where you work at and who you work for, basically. That's our future professionally, that we can survive and we can get better at what we do professionally, but can give better service to more clients with a model that basically works.
Right. So listen, I'm going to leave you with 2 questions. And by the way, Karen Kirby was telling me great stories about how when she first heard your voice on the telephone and she was all freaked out with your accent and your attitude and how much you helped her and stuff. But anyway, well, you probably answered this anyway, but what do you think the average personal trainer needs to know about the history of their profession? And what do you think the average person on the street needs to know about the history of our profession?
Well, the funny thing is about the professional needs to know where the history was, because the history lets you know where we are today. Now, that being said, the only ones who will appreciate that are those working for the quality clubs. Good point. And that could be a big club or a medium-sized club. It could also be those folks who are working for a chain that is doing such a job, or a specialty boutique program that's doing such a great job, that they would appreciate the value of the history we went through. Mm-hmm. The other side, when you have like a LA Fitness, not to throw dispersions, but they just don't get it, those trainers don't care. Mm-hmm. They just want to get paid, do what they have to do, and go out and do something else. And that's a shame. Right. So their salvation is to find a mentor that can take them on a journey to success and make money. And there aren't that many of us left around here who do that, basically.
And what do you think the average person on the street needs to know about us?
They need to know what it takes to become the best of the best.
I think they don't understand how hard our job is.
Exactly. They have no clue. So when I was coming through the ranks, I wrote articles. I was interviewed in newspaper, magazine, and stuff. So all of that's part of my branding process. And when someone would come to me, especially when I left New York, and I would go to Wichita, Kansas, or Cincinnati, they would ask me, well, why do you charge so much money? Right. All I would say is, I want you to Google me. Right. They will Google me and come back to me and say, in Wichita, Kansas, wow, you're awful cheap now, but you're worth more than that. And I said, exactly right. So when I tell trainers today, what's your brand? What's your value proposition? Why should I pay you money? They look at me like, well, what does that mean? Wow. So, for example, yesterday, one of our trainers in the club I work at, I said, I Googled you. Now, she's been creating a disjointed brand, so I'm trying to give her some help. So I said, I Googled you yesterday, and you did not come up at all. Uh-oh. Of course I came up. I should have come up. I have my company name. I have the color purple as my theme. I said, yes, there's your name, and here's your company name, and they're totally disjointed. So when I Googled you, you don't exist. And that's why you're not worth anything, because you have no value proposition. Right. She's doing a bunch of stuff, but never put it together. Right. That's what, it's so critical to make that happen. Right. And it's hard. It's hard.
Uh-oh. I better get to work.
Well, you know what? I'll send you a couple of the articles I had just to give you some more ideas, and you may want to ask me some more questions, but it's like the history that we went through is unbelievable. And the people who have never gone through that history, they have no idea. So when I saw David Harris on Facebook getting his recent award for all the money he's made for personal training for Equinox, I remember the day when we interviewed him to give him his job. I don't want to work for a gym. I want to be independent. I don't need you guys. I don't need benefits.
I don't need
right.
education. Right.
Exactly. Look at him now. Look at him now. That's right.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go, and I definitely will get back in touch for more stories if that's okay with you.
Okay, and I'll send you some stuff.
All right. Great. Thank you, Bob.
Say hi to Scott.
Okay. Say hi to Jolene. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.